Yo, yo, yo. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well out there. I see Larry Sherrington Jr. in chat. Welcome to the party. Gonna get cooking here in just a second. Welcome to Slay Security Plus, Sunday edition. It's about 2 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock your time if you're on the East Coast. Today we're gonna be talking about Slaying Security Plus. Today is my youngest first year of life that we're celebrating today, which is pretty awesome. I don't know how many of you are going to show up in chat, but I want to give you the opportunity. So welcome to Slay Security Plus. We are the community-driven initiative with the sole purpose of helping you study your Security Plus with some of the best resources out there. Today, we're going to continue using Inside Cloud and Security, coupled with official CompTIA questions. Last week, we were in Domain 1. We did 1.1 and most of 1.2, I believe. Today, we're going to jump into Domain 2.0, threats, vulnerabilities, and mitigations, so you can kind of see how they pair up with that how to secure your environment section of Domain 1 that we went through. Today, we're going to start with 2.1 threat actors. Let's get cooking. And let me know if you can hear me. Things are going loud and clear in chat. Let's go. Hey. Miss Franklin, welcome to the party. Good to see you. All right, threat actors, attributes, and motivations. These slides are pinned in chat. I did not create them, but I'm thankful for Pete Zerger of Inside Cloud and Security who did create them. No sense in recreating the wheel if we don't have to, right? So let's get right into it. When we think of organizations and kind of an organizational structure at a 1,000-foot view, we can look at this as nonprofits. The goal of a nonprofit typically is not concerned with money, but is to improve, social well-being, or maybe they have a mission of some kind. Governments typically involved with economic and politics, and then businesses are for profit. We can look at the cyber criminal aspect of this. Hacktivists typically don't care about money, and they want to get their mission across. Government attackers are more in it for somewhere in between business and politics, typically for politics. And then criminal enterprises are usually in it for the money, and we're going to get more nitty-gritty with these as we go. You heard these before, so let's drill down into them a little bit. A nation-state threat actor. Whoa, 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 whoa. What am I doing here? What is this, amateur hour? What is this, amateur hour? Let's go back. Let's do that again. Boom. There we go. Going back categorically, we can see nonprofits, governments, and businesses. Nonprofits, like I said, are to improve society. They have a mission. Activists on the other side usually don't care about the money and are just in for it for the thrill or to get their point across. Governments are somewhere between economic and politics. And then we see our businesses, all about that cash, baby. Cash rules everything around me. Criminal enterprises, moving forward. All right, this is where we took off. Here we go. Nation state. Nation states typically are governments that use cyber attacks to disrupt or steal information from another country. Unless you're North Korea and you've been sanctioned over and over again and you have no money, then in that case, you will take money through cyber attacks. The unskilled attacker is somebody with limited technical knowledge who may launch an attack out of curiosity or malice. We used to refer to these as script kiddies, as they typically will just use some kind of automated script they don't know a lot about just to kind of get it out there and have some fun with it. Hacktivists, an individual or group that uses cyber attacks to promote political or social cause. Let's go. Boop. Hold the phone. Ben Tech, I passed Security Plus yesterday. Big thanks to you and the whole Slay Security Plus team. Let's go. Yes. That's what I'd love to hear. Congratulations, Ben Tech. Got that under your belt, and now you can keep plugging and chugging along. That's awesome. Congrats. Hacktivist, when I think of hacktivist, I think of maybe anonymous or something like that, or old school hacktivism where they're just defacing government websites, maybe changing the landing page or just changing the text that's on the website. Hacktivists, right? They want to get their point across. They don't really care about money. So you could, when we get into the questions, you'll probably see some questions maybe about a threat actor who is defacing a website. Again, just trying to get their point across. They're in it for the mission. Insider threat. When I think of an insider threat, I think of an authorized, right? Somebody who's meant to be there. They work in the industry. Hey, Toasty Pops, welcome to the party, pal. Insider threat is they're authorized to be there. They're hired by the company, and they intentionally or unintentionally misuse their access to harm a system or an organization. Organized crime, I like to think of those, and we'll hear those referred to in the Security Plus study as a cyber criminal. Organized crime is a crime syndicate that uses cyber attacks for financial gain, such as stealing money or data. And then shadow IT, employees leveraging unauthorized or unmanaged IT resources used within an organization, which can create security vulnerabilities. While not exactly a threat actor itself, they can create an exploitable risk. And we'll get into those motivations here in a minute. Bentech says, thank you. Time to figure out which niche I want to try to get into and work learning more skills. Yep. It's good to be specialized. I took more of a holistic approach, which kind of slowed me down in getting hired, mainly because I wasn't able to apply for really specified, job roles. I learned a lot about red teaming, GRC, blue team, not really all at the same time, but try to integrate them as much as possible so I could hit the ground running and have that what I call a holistic sense of cybersecurity. That's what worked for me. I know that a lot of other people kind of dive right into a specific role. They're passionate about one thing and that's what they roll with. My ADD wouldn't let me do that. Motivations. What am I motivated to do? Well, I might be motivated to do data exfiltration. You'll hear us use that figure of speech quite a bit in cybersecurity. Data exfiltration simply is the unauthorized removal of sensitive or proprietary information from a computer system. That could be from literally walking out with it on a thumb drive all the way to, taking that data and sending it across the wire on the internet. I'm leaning towards GRC. Awesome. GRC Mafia, baby. I love it. Espionage, cyber attacks conducted by organizations including nation states or corporations with the goal of stealing confidential information from another organization. I see this from everything from cyber criminals all the way to our APTs or advanced persistent threats. Even nation states conducts espionage. They want to steal that information, take it for their own. Hey, Haircut Fish, what's going on? Welcome to the party, pal. Good to see you in chat. How is your world as a cybersecurity analyst treating you? Service disruption. This is aimed at taking down or significantly hindering critical systems or networks, causing outages or disruptions to essential services. There's a few great Darknet diaries where Jack talks about with different threat actors that try to take down different ICS and SCADA systems. ICS being industrial control systems, OT, so operational technology, versus IT, which may be an avenue for some of you to be interested in, is that OT security. I think it's fascinating, so check that out. Blackmail. Blackmail is similar to ransomware, except for we are, attacks that threaten to expose sensitive information or launch further attacks unless the victim submits a demand, typically for money or other concessions, whereas ransomware locks down that data, right? Blackmail is threatening to release the data. A little bit different. Financial gain is motivation. Attacks motivated by the desire to steal money or valuables through fraudulent activities. And then philosophical or political beliefs. Cyber attacks driven by ideological or political motivations, such as promoting a cause or ideology. We see this a lot with hacktivism, which is just taking activism and hackers and smashing those words together. Misty-eyed, my connection sucks, but I'm here. You're here, and that is what is important. Ethical hacking, authorized simulated attacks conducted by security researchers or ethical hackers to identify vulnerabilities in a computer system and improve its overall security posture. Authorized meaning that it is written, it's explicit consent, typically in a written contract. Another motivation for cyber attacks would be revenge. Cyber attacks motivated by a desire to retaliate against an individual or organization for perceived wrongs, often causing public embarrassment or operational disruption, slowing down or stopping a system because you want to get back at them. This could be a disgruntled employee or just somebody getting back. Maybe remember when, do you remember when Sony was hacked by the North Koreans as a way to, as revenge, because they were upset about releasing that movie, The Interview? Pretty funny movie. Another motivation might be disruption or chaos. Attacks and aiming caused widespread disruption and hindering normal operations of a system or network. Again, this may be driven by personal satisfaction or furthering another agenda. You're going to get these hints of motivations maybe in a question, and we'll see some of those. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. The use of cyber attacks by military forces or civilian groups to disrupt the enemy military operations and gain an advantage in an armed conflict. A lot of times in these slides, they're highlighted because we're trying to catch some key words or some key concepts that you're going to see in the practice questions or in the real questions coming up. Here's a way to look at it, kind of visualize, continue to visualize that. We see the threat actor, the skill level, and then their primary motivation, right? So a nation state has a high skill level, lots of resources. Take a screenshot of that or download the slides. I won't go too in depth on the death by PowerPoint. Again, just breaking it down even further. When you look at these slides, and I'll let you look at those and kind of read through them or take some screenshots or just download them from the pinned comment. When you look at them visually, it helps your brain assimilate and connect the dots so that when you're taking the test on test day or in your practice, you can a lot more efficiently, my words are not working today, a lot more efficiently you can get those thoughts and concepts linked together. The impact of skill and funding into the threat to an organization, right? A high skill level, highly skilled attackers, they're going to be able to exploit more complex vulnerabilities, maybe bypass EDR, antivirus solutions, and then remain undetected, aka persistence, for an extended period of time. They can target specific systems or individuals within an organization, making them highly dangerous. Low skill, unskilled attackers are less likely to launch sophisticated attacks. They may rely on readily available tools or exploits, well-known vulnerabilities from like an exploit database, CVEs. Caveat here is even though unskilled attackers don't have a lot of skill or resources, they can still be really dangerous as they can target vulnerable systems or trick employees into compromising security, aka phishing attacks. Or maybe an unskilled attacker is just, they found an externally exposed maybe an internet-facing resource on a network. They run a quick Nmap scan. They see what operating system is running. They can exploit maybe a well-known vulnerability or an unpatched system. Again, funding level, the more money you have, the better your ability to cause those attacks and to stay in the trenches, continue to fight. Low funding, maybe you don't have the money, but you can still exploit phishing, social engineering attacks. Again, patch hygiene, employee awareness, and a layered defense is going to help mitigate all these things. Pretty straightforward, like, you know, high skill level, high funding, more dangerous, low skill level, low funding, less dangerous, but still a threat. They're going to have the resources, right? They're going to have, maybe if you think of a nation state, lots of money, lots of skill. They're going to be able to extend those resources and those attacks for longer periods of time, more persistence. Brings us into 2.2. Explain common threat vectors and attack surfaces. A threat vector We're going to hear that word thrown around quite a bit in cybersecurity. Really, this is the method. This is how the attack happens. A method, as the slide says, or combination of methods that an attacker uses to gain unauthorized access to a computer system, network, or data. Think of this as a pathway the attacker takes to exploit a vulnerability, right? We see the vulnerabilities out there. Well, what direction am I going to take to exploit that? A vector, a direction. Example are phishing emails, malware and attachments, unpatched software vulnerabilities, and social engineering tactics. The attack surface. The attack surface is the entire landscape, right? The sum total of all the possible entry points that an attacker can exploit to gain access to system data, to a system or to data networks. It's the broader landscape of weaknesses an organization or individual presents. The larger the attack surface means there are more potential threat vectors an attacker can utilize. I always think of this if I was to look at, I don't know, like a piece of cheese, right? Just a piece of cheddar cheese or a white piece of provolone. It's turned into Swiss cheese, right? That attack surface is every one of the holes in that cheese is an entry point, or it's a vulnerability that could be exploited. Some examples here are unsecured devices, weak passwords, open service ports, outdated software, and reliance on untrusted sources. Here's a nice visual representation we can take with us to the bank. The threat actor, imagine a castle. The threat actor would be a specific way to breach the castle, like scaling a weak wall or bribing a guard. The attack surface would be the entire castle itself, including all of its walls, gates, and potential weaknesses. The stronger the castle's defenses, the smaller the attack surface would be. And the fewer effective ways or threat vectors, directions, the attackers will have to breach it. Threat vector versus attack surface. Type, message type, right? Message based. The threat vector here is going to be a phishing email with malicious attachments or links, spam containing malware, email spoofing, or social engineering attacks. The attack surface would be unprotected email accounts, weak passwords, lack of multi-factor authentication, MFA, or poorly configured email filters. Modern email security will evaluate, execute URLs, and attachments. TCM Security is a really good course that they launched on their platform called Effective Phishing Campaigns. And in it, they talk about the future of email security. We're going to have what's called a trust index, where the email security platform, whatever that looks like, is going to look through and look for behaviors, look for the way that maybe somebody types compared to the way this email came through, different attachments, and say, hey, have we seen this attachment before? Do we typically get attachments from this sender or from this organization? Which I think is fantastic, because that is one of the most common attacks we see in my organization is email and phishing attacks. SMS or smishing attacks. So the threat vector, smishing attacks with malicious links, SIM swapping for account takeover. The attack surface would be unsecured mobile devices, weak SMS verification process, lack of awareness about smishing threats. Instant message, threat vectors, malicious links are filed, shared in IM chat, social engineering attacks, impersonating context. The attack surfaces, if we're looking at that castle, remember the attack surface would be, well, what do you got? What do you have? What does your surface look like that is unprotected? Is it unencrypted IM platforms, lack of user access controls within an IM or instant messaging application? Image-based, steganography, hiding malware within images. Phishing attacks using fake images to lure the victims. The attack surface would be downloading image from untrusted sources, opening an image attachments without proper scanning. Image-based, generative AI is fueling an expansion of fake image threat. In your professional environment, you'll probably have access to sandboxes, whether it's any.run or Joe's Sandbox, or even maybe a sandbox within your Windows environment where you can open those attachments, emails, check out those malicious links and see where they take you in a safe environment that's not connected to your network. File-based malware that's hidden within files. The example here is documents, executables, zero-day vulnerabilities exploited through file attachments. The attack surface would be downloading files from untrusted sources, opening attachments without proper scanning, and outdated software with unpatched vulnerabilities. The countermeasures we want to see is user awareness training, good software hygiene, and email security. It comes down to, I cannot tell you how much it comes down to user training and user awareness. That's like the number one vulnerability, right, is our end users. Phishing attacks, where an attacker attempts to steal information over the phone by impersonating legitimate callers. Lack of awareness about phishing threats, weak user authentication processes over the phone. Again, user awareness, end user awareness, employee awareness, which if you work for a company, the employees are the end users, right? So having that awareness training in your organization, top down, that it's a priority that those employees are getting training, right? And not just some PowerPoint that's lame, but that it's actually targeted training for your employees or that part of the organization. Vulnerable software, client base, unpatched software with known vulnerabilities, outdated applications with security flaws. And the surface, the attack surface, would be an outdated operating system and applications. Lack of automated software update processes. That is another issue you see, right? Developers and organizations a lot of times will run with operating systems that are out of date or maybe end of service because of financial constrictions. Maybe it's time. A lot of scenarios, your IT teams are just spread really thin, and so they may not have the quote unquote time to bring different areas of the organization down, to bring that network down for patch management, right? Because there's a whole process. We're not just blasting out patches. You gotta patch it. But we are patching. And so sometimes we can't just do an organization-wide patch, do it in sections and bring it down. Well, sometimes we're strapped for time. So that doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. And it just hangs out there, these unpatched or out-of-date operating systems. Agentless, exploiting vulnerabilities in the main software that doesn't require a separate agent for infection. While the attack surface is less configurability, limited patching options, and increased reliance on vendor security are risks. This is where I think of, again, maybe third-party hacking or third-party vulnerabilities. Kind of going back to our conversations. Type unsupported systems and applications. Threat vectors. The direction is the attacker is targeting known vulnerabilities in an unsupported software without security patches. What is our attack surface? What is that castle? Well, that castle has outdated and unsupported operating systems or applications due to lack of upgrade options. This is where we see maybe a mitigation here. Could be network segmentation, putting its own VLAN, or isolating a completely an air-gapped environment until you can get those patches deployed properly. What is the threat vector here? Man in the middle of attacks, or unencrypted or poorly encrypted Wi-Fi networks, eavesdropping on network traffic. The attack surface would be connecting to public Wi-Fi networks without a VPN, using weak encryption protocols on a wireless network. Minimize the use of public Wi-Fi and keep access points updated and patched. Wired. I need to get more wired here. Let's have some Rockstar here. The threat vector is a physical access to a wired network for unauthorized access, malware spreading through the network. Again, the attack surface would be a flat network where everything is just, you get into one part of the subnet or the gateway, and there is no subnetting. It's just one giant network. So you spread it in one computer, it literally will spread everywhere through that flat network. Weak network segmentation, lack of physical security measures for network equipment. Network segmentation or micro-segmentation are key defenses in protecting your environment from these attacks. Bluetooth. I don't see this a lot in our organization, but Bluetooth hijacking for data theft or malware infection, unidentified or unsecured Bluetooth connections, leaving Bluetooth enabled on devices, even when they're not in use. Oh boy, open service ports, right? The attackers are exploiting vulnerabilities used in services running on specific ports. What did you miss, Space Tacos? Welcome to the party. I am fumbling my way through domain 2.1 and 2.2. It is our youngest's first year. Her birthday is today, so I wanted to jump online and do a study session before I go party with the family. It's nap time. So that's probably why I sound a little bit quiet, right? Got the kiddos sleeping. I see this a lot in different environments. Unnecessary services running on a system, failure to disable unused ports or inadequate network access controls. Very, very common. Maybe you have something that's running on port 80, but when the internet facing, when the person goes to access it on the internet, it's actually over 443 or HTTPS. So you can just close that port. Maybe you have a SQL server running on 1433. Well, the internet doesn't need to see that, right? So close 1433 to the internet. Default creds or weak credentials. Brute force attacks used to guess default usernames and passwords for system access. A lot of this time that I've seen this happen is when network equipment is installed or a new application is updated or developers are trying something out. They'll leave the default credentials on a system, whatever that looks like, and just out of mistake, usually because you're tired or you're just trying to work and increase productivity, we forget to change those credentials or leaving really weak passwords. This stuff is the usual causes a lot of these big hacks. Managed service providers, vendors, and suppliers. The vector here is a compromised system, software, or services within a supplier leading to attacks on their clients. The attack surface is lack of vendor risk management, limited visibility into vulnerabilities and security practices of third-party vendors. Remember, a lot of times that third-party attestation saying that this is where they are in their risk and compliance as a third-party vendor. You're only going to see what they want you to see, and so that's a hard one to protect against. Social engineering. We're going to get through these. Let me look. Where are we at? Let's go back to, we're going to pause here because I have a half an hour left. I want to make sure so we get some live practice questions. I'd like to remind everybody that's watching Slay Security Plus, we are sponsored by simplycyber.io. So whether you're trying to up your game in the cybersecurity community, jump in, break in, whatever that looks like for you, make sure you check out Dr. Jerry Ozier in the Simply Cyber community. Let's pay some bills and then let's do some practice questions.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included bug bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Woo! Thank you, Dr. Jerry Ozier. We appreciate you very, very much in our community. All right, let's get rocking with some questions. First one of the day. A local business received numerous complaints from frequent repeat customers about fraud occurring after they ordered delivery through the company's website. Even though it was a legitimate website, what type of attack did the customers become victims of? Consensus technique, B, watering hole attack, D, typo squatting, or D, coercion? A local business has received numerous complaints from frequent repeat customers. That tells me that they go to this site quite a bit. About fraud occurring after they ordered delivery through the company's website, even though it was the legitimate website. What type of attack did the customers become victims of? Space Taco says she says B or C. Right? Consensus technique and coercion we typically see with social engineering, not so much with this attack. I vote B as well. I'm thinking B, right? Typo squatting, maybe they go to flowerpots.com and there's a threat actor that registered a domain, a malicious domain that was called flowerpots with 2s.com, so that people that go to what they think is a legitimate site, they go to the one typo squatting, right? But in this question, we see that it says after after they ordered deliveries through the company's website, even though it was the legitimate website. Yeah, that's what Toasty Pops is on the same level as we are. It says it was legit website, so that tends to rule out C. I agree. Let's see what the survey says. Correct. Let's go. Good job, class. A watering hole attack relies on targets that use an unsecured third-party website, allowing the attacker to infect a company's computers. A company uses a popular password manager. It noticed unusual breaches in its systems and forced a password reset on all employees' accounts. What is a consideration when using third-party software for any computer function? A, cost can be cheaper than doing it internally. B, every vendor is at risk of threats. C, the risks outweigh the cost. Or D, a company cannot hire employees with specific roles. That's a weird answer. A company uses a popular password manager. It noticed unusual breaches in its systems and forced a password reset on all employee accounts. This isn't so much asking us, when I read this question, it isn't really asking us so much about the breaches. Really is, what is the consideration when using third-party software for any computer function? Cost can be cheaper than doing it internally. That's true, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the issue we're having. The risk outweighs the costs, as Space Tacos has pointed out. I don't think that's a good answer either. It doesn't seem to satisfy. And D, a company cannot hire employees with specific roles. Well, that's not true. That's just not true. B, Toasty Pops. I'll go with B as well. Haircut Fish says B. I think general consensus is B. There are risks when using any software, including third-party vendor services. It is important to analyze the vendor security posture to protect against these breaches. Woo, this live stream is getting taken down after we're done. My mouth is all tongue-tied today, and that's okay, right? You just get out here and you create. Get out there and you help when you can. Don't let perfection be the enemy of getting it done. That's what I believe. A large financial firm has recently bought. A large financial firm recently bought its information technology back in-house. Woo woo. It made this decision after facing issues within its third-party vendor not properly securing its system from outside threats. What consideration did the financial firm deliberate regarding the managed service provider in returning to IT in-house services? A, to reduce the risk of supply chain attacks. B, to reduce the risks of insider threats. C, to reduce the risk of nation-state threats. Or D, to improve the company's security posture. When we break down this question, a large financial firm has recently brought its IT back in-house. It made this decision after facing issues with its third-party vendor, right? Third-party vendor not properly securing its systems from outside threats. Space Tacos. Misty, I don't take down the live. I got to review it. That's fair because we're still getting the information out there. You might have to skip forward and go back a couple times, but the information is there. Space Tacos votes A on this one. I'm looking at A to reduce the risk of supply chain attacks. This question is really hammering home that supply chain vulnerability. Third party. I think third party. I think part of the supply chain. An MSP is a third party. It's not asking us anything about insider threats or employees doing malicious activities. And the MSP really isn't an insider. They're a third party that the company is paying to do the work, right? They're not necessarily an employee of the company. We don't see anything about government or nation states. This is just saying that it's protected from outside threats in general. Yes, to improve the company's security posture, I think is part of it. But Toasty Pops, I will say that when we read this carefully, a large financial firm, it made the decision after facing issues with its third-party vendor not properly securing its systems from outside threats. What consideration did the financial firm deliberate regarding the managed service provider in returning to IT in-house services? Well, they were upset because the managed service provider MSP, it doesn't say MSSP or security firm, it just says a managed service provider. Yeah, like Space Taco says, I think D is the overall concept, right? We do want to improve our security posture as a company and organization, but specifically, why are we bringing it back in-house, which is what the question is asking. Why did we go from this MSP and bring it back in-house? Well, it's because we were upset that it wasn't properly secured third-party attacks, aka supply chain attacks. I'm gonna go with A. Let's see what happens. Yep. And let me know in chat if that didn't make sense, if that question specifically kind of threw you off. And that's why we got to read these questions all the way through. It's super important. A lot of times I get through the question and you'll want to fill in the blank, or you'll get about a quarter ways through and kind of answer it for yourself in your head without fully reading it. Correct answer was A. By bringing things in-house, the company can limit risk in relation to supply chain attacks. Bringing things in-house does not necessarily improve a company's security posture. It is dependent on its liability to implement security controls properly. So they're saying not only are we bringing it house, right? We want to bring it in-house because specifically we think that we can better secure our company without the third party, right? The MSP isn't protecting the company the way it's supposed to against those third-party vendors, those third-party attacks, right? So when you have an MSP, let's say I'm Jesse Slay Security Plus and I want an MSP to do all of my networking for me. Well, that means that MSP is going to use different third-party companies, right? So if I'm the first party, the MSP maybe is the second party. Well, then that MSP is going to go out and they're going to source their applications, different solutions, software, what have you, and they're going to implement them on my system. I don't want to use the MSP anymore because apparently the MSP, the third party, is that software and those solutions that the MSP is using on my infrastructure. And because this MSP isn't taking care of business and properly securing and making sure and going through all the things that we just talked about, that is the third party. So I hope that clears it up a little bit. They're going away from the MSP because the MSP has an issue making sure that the solutions they are using are secure. An accountant received a phone call from an individual requesting information for an ongoing project. The individual stated to be from a known vendor the company is working with. Before giving the information over, the accountant should protect against what? A, typo squatting, B, impersonation, C, watering hole attack, or D, consensus attack. Well, let's start with that process of elimination. We know it's not a watering hole attack because a watering hole attack, it has to do with manipulating a website or a third party that the company is known to visit frequently. So we can take off watering hole attack. I think we can take off typo squatting. This question isn't asking us about going to a website and it looks like it's supposed to be the real thing or anything like that. We don't see any redirection. I vote B, always awesome am. Always awesome in the morning. AM also votes B. Yeah, I agree on B. Confirmation of identity is needed here. Boom. Good job, team. And so to clear up what consensus technique is, the persuasiveness or consensus technique attempts to convince the target that request is natural and it would be impolite or somehow odd to refuse, right? I'm a social engineer. Hey, Jenny in marketing, we could typically give this password whenever we're locked out. Would you mind handing it over? Right? I just kind of am implying there's a consensus that this is just part of what we do. This is the everyday business. And it would be really weird if you were to ask me for my position, right? The consensus is we all do it. Different than familiarity. Hey, Jenny, this is James. You probably don't hear from me. I'm good friends with so-and-so and so-and-so. Familiarity, right? Like building up this false friendship. Sorry, Jenny. Right, so let's review these real quick as we go into the questions. Authority, citing position, responsibility, affirmation. I am so-and-so, and you will do this because I have authority over you. I've convinced you that I am your boss. I maybe am the executive suite, or I'm the IT manager. Intimidation and social engineering. Sorry, James, but I don't know you. Prove it. Password is, let me in. And the intimidation technique suggests you may face negative outcomes if you don't facilitate or access or initiate a process. You're going to get fired, Jenny. If last time this happened, we saw that you got written up for not giving out passwords. Here's consensus. Claiming that somebody in a similar position or a peer has carried out the same task in the past. Just I was saying, hey, Jenny, in accounting, typically when James is working, whenever I forget my password, I know it's probably not good to do this over the phone, but James usually gives it to me. Look, I'm locked out, I'm trying to get in. What is my password one more time? That consensus, maybe leading you to believe, well, if James does it, then go for it. Scarcity, that has to do with quantity. There's only a few left. in a social engineering technique, maybe somebody calls or sends an email saying there's only 3 of these widgets left for your organization and they're going fast. Click this link now. Consensus attack, aka your peer pressure. Love it, Space Tacos. That's a good way to look at it. Familiarity, liking, attempting to establish a personal connection, often citing mutual acquaintances or social proof. Hey, Jenny and James, we were together at the DEF CON convention, the cybersecurity convention, right? Maybe they've done their OSINT, their research, so they know the person that they're calling likes a certain thing or is into a certain activity, getting that familiarity established so I can get those credentials. Kind of, I guess that to me is similar with trust, citing knowledge and experience, assisting the target with an issue to establish relationship. And then urgency, similar to consent or scarcity. When you think of scarcity, think of a quantity of an object. And when you think of urgency, think of time. You only got 30 seconds to click this link. Whatever. Back to the questions. A security engineer discovered that an active employee has copied sensitive information from the company's shared drive and sold it online. What kind of actor describes this employee? A, insider threat, B, nation state, C, hacktivist, or D, advanced persistent threat? This one's pretty straightforward, team. An active employee, probably not a nation state, unless you hire a nation state threat actor. Again, when I think hacktivist, that's that hacker and outside actor. And we don't think it's an APT or advanced persistent threat. A lot of times, APTs or advanced persistent threats are nation states, but they're not always nation state. An advanced persistent threat just has to do with these threats that are highly sophisticated in their ability to conduct the attacks. Maybe they have the funding to be able to purchase the tools or pay teams to develop malware. And they have the ability to remain in the system undetected for an extended period of time. Not always nation states. Boom. Active employee A. Here we go again. Some more social engineering of some kind. An accountant received a phone call from an individual requesting information for an ongoing project. The call came from an unrecognized number, but the individual seemed believable and persuasive. Before giving the information over, what should the accountant protect against? A, social engineering. B, coercion. C, typo squatting. Or D, brand impersonation. Call came on the phone. IT, this is James. Hi, James. This is Kenneth Lowy. I know you don't recognize this number, but we've spoken before. I'm friendly, believable. We were at that cybersecurity conference. I was wondering if you could remind me of that secret information that you're not supposed to give out. Well, I'm not typing in a website. Okay. Friendly, seemed believable and persuasive. I don't see any brand impersonation. They're not trying to say something that they're not trying to appear to be something they're not. Coercion, persuasive and coercion. But I think of coercion is much stronger, right? Coercing that. I'm gonna go with A. I agree, team. Boom. Good job, team. A construction contractor received a phone call from a prospective client that the contractor's website looked off from what they expected. After an investigation, the construction company discovered that the prospect visited a similar looking website with a slightly different URL. What caused the attack? What caused the client to go to the wrong thing? A, phishing, B, impersonation, C, a watering hole attack, or D, typo squatting. A construction contractor received a phone call from a prospective client that the contractor's website looked off, right? So maybe looked off. After the investigation, the construction company discovered that the prospect visited a similar looking website. Here's our keyword, with a slightly different URL. Yep, good job, Malware Cube. Love it. Since I mentioned the URL, I feel it's got to be D, right? That's what CompTIA is trying to get the gears turning. Maybe if they left out slightly different URL and just said a similar looking website, maybe it's a watering hole attack. Maybe that third party, maybe that threat actor was able to compromise that website that the business typically goes to, watering hole, a common place that people visit, and they're able to compromise that website. Therefore, when you went to it to carry out your normal day-to-day business activities, you were compromised. But this says a slightly different URL. That's why we slow down and read these questions. That's what they're trying to get us to think. Typo squatting. And to clear that up a little bit, just like CompTIA is saying, a watering hole attack relies on a group of targets that use unsecured third-party websites. As a result, the attacker may be able to infect the company's computers by people visiting them. Malware Cube, you know what's awesome, and this is totally unintentional, is that I'm also looking over this course. I don't know if that looks familiar to you, but ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't taken time, and I always talk about investing in yourself, if you're interested in checking out this SOC experience or maybe being a SOC analyst, highly recommend the SOC course from TCM Security. So far, I am loving every minute of it, learning a ton. It's well put together, very succinct, explains things in a digestible, but not super high level. So where you're learning too much fluff, you're really getting into some of the nitty gritty. Got some labs set up. Love this course thus far. Let's go. A large multimedia company is in the process of creating a new marketing campaign for a soon-to-be-released movie. However, before releasing the campaign, the company noticed an increase in fake accounts, mimicking it online with a similar looking campaign. What could the company do to mitigate this issue? Check for typo squatting, A. B, check for brand impersonation. C, check for coercion. Or D, check for consensus technique. A large multimedia company is in the process of creating a new marketing campaign, right, for a soon-to-be-released movie. So I'm creating this campaign. However, before releasing the campaign, the company noticed an increase in fake accounts mimicking with a similar looking one. Now, this could be easily confused. There's two options here. Let's click off the ones that we know are not. And that's a process that you're going to want to get into as you answer practice questions in your own study. And when you go to take the actual exam, is read the question sometimes twice, but definitely at least once all the way through. Look at your answers and then maybe read the question again. There's typically going to be one or two answers that stand out that are absolutely not correct. Remember, consensus technique is this form of social engineering. When I think social engineering, I always think a person is doing this, right? I'm getting a phone call. Somebody's walking up to the front desk. It's a message from somebody, a person. The consensus technique, that's not what we're talking here, right? That doesn't quite satisfy this question. Checking for coercion. Again, I'm thinking again, social engineering with coercion, so we can take off these two. That leaves us with typo squatting and brand impersonation. Like the previous question, we noticed that the person went to a website with a URL that seemed off. This doesn't mention anything about browser, client side, doesn't mention anything about typing in a website they thought was the real thing. This says mimicking, right? And just from your experience of being alive and on this earth, we know that mimicking is another word of kind of impersonating something. So I agree with B. Boom. Brand impersonation occurs when the threat actor commits resources to accurately duplicating a company's logos and formatting it to make phishing message or farming website visually compelling. All right, this is a short but sweet Slay Security Plus. Like I said, it's my daughter's birthday, and I want to get an hour in with everybody doing some live study. I'm going to leave this stream up, and I'll probably edit out the beginning half and just leave the questions because my brain is now working at full speed, and I want to make sure you're getting good resources. Maybe I'll just leave it up, right? Because like I said, when you're getting out and you're making, I don't know if it's creating content or you're trying to help others or you're trying to get out there and do something to better the cybersecurity community, it's easy to get hung up on things being perfect. Oh, it's not edited the best. Oh, I didn't use the right words all the time. Well, you know what? Don't let perfection be the enemy of just getting out there and getting that content, whatever it is, getting it out there to help others. Hopefully seeing, when I first started doing Slay Security Plus, I went back and watched some of Jerry's oldest videos. I even watched some of like TCM's older videos. They didn't always have it perfect, right? The background wasn't look at John Hammond's oldest videos, right? Go back and watch some of John Hammond's oldest videos, and it just is. Exactly. Thank you, Space Tacos. Please leave up the whole thing. You never know what you can trigger with your explanation. Thank you. You're right. You never know who you're going to help. All right, let's go. All that to say, get out there. Help. You can get out and you can help others in your cybersecurity journey, no matter where you are. Doesn't mean you have to be a content creator or make YouTube videos. I see a lot of people here in chat that are that post different things on LinkedIn, or they jump in. They're just community members participating, encouraging other people in the community. This is a community-based effort, and we're all on the same boat, right? Last question. A construction company that receives several emails with attachments from its vendors ran into an issue with one of its emails it received. A malicious actor created an email with an attachment that appeared to be from a known vendor. As a result, the malicious actor tricked an employee into clicking on that attachment. How did the malicious actor convince the employee to click on the attachment? A, the actor used an email lure. B, the actor used a physical lure. I do love phishing, so that's awesome. C, the actor offered help to improve employee workflow. Or D, the actor exploited an outdated email encryption protocol. Let's read this. Several emails with attachments from its vendor ran into an issue with it. A malicious actor created an email with an attachment that appeared to be from the known vendor. So I'm getting a bunch of emails. I normally subscribe to malwarecube at email.com, and I get a lot of awesome emails from him. And then one day, all of a sudden, I get an email from what looks to be from malwarecube.com, and it's actually a phishing attachment. Very similar concept. The malicious actor used an email with an attachment to be appeared from the known vendor. So it doesn't say it was from the known vendor, it appeared to be from the known vendor. Well, they didn't really offer to do anything in this attachment or in the email, so we can immediately get rid of that one. The actor exploited an outdated email encryption protocol. Maybe, but that's not what they're asking. How did the malicious actor convince the employee? The threat actor very well, right? This email gateway, whatever they're using, whatever solution they're using, may be using some outdated or use an outdated email encryption protocol. And that's how it got in, but that's not what the question is asking. The question is asking, how did they encourage them or lure them in? I go with A. Final answer. Boom, boom, boom. Good job, team. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's Slay Security Plus session. I hope you got some value out of some of the practice, some of the answers. Go back and review these slides at the beginning. And if you want a little bit more in-depth explanation of what we're going over, I did link that YouTube and chat from Inside Cloud and Security. I've really been enjoying his PowerPoint presentations that are absolutely free, and they map out with the Security Plus domain objectives one for one. And so you're not missing any content. And he goes, the point of the Inside Cloud and Security study sessions are to be your first resource and your last resource before you take your exam. And you come here for your live study sessions, and then we help fill in the gaps. Always Awesome AM says thank you. You're very, very welcome. Thank all of you to spending some time with me here on this Sunday. Space Tacos, I love you. DM me about some other stuff. Oh, and remember, if you are in the Security Plus community and you would like to get access to some of the paid resources, maybe that is Professor Messer's study bundle, or there are some things that you're eyeing that you think could be part of your journey, maybe it's some pocket prep and you can't find those funds, reach out to me, Slay Security Plus. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us in the Discord chat. Feel free to send me a private DM. We have started what we are calling the Slay Security Plus Foundation. And the point of all of that is to gather funds from various donations and vendors who have reached out to me and said they want to help. Some of them might be people in the community that show up on a regular basis, right? And we want to help people that can't afford this stuff. So reach out to me. We'll get you those resources so that it's not financial barriers that's keeping you from studying for your Security Plus, which then you can get that certification and keep going on to maybe other certifications, or as I like to say, getting your hands dirty. Experience is king. So while you're studying for this, maybe instead of using that money, you can pay for some cloud resources to set up a VM, or I don't know, buy a book or buy yourself some coffee. I don't know what that looks like, but reach out to us, Security Plus Foundation. Love to keep you going. Toasty Pops, thank you for being here, man. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being such a good supporter of the community. I'd like to thank the community, and this is not bullshit. Sorry, Kennedy, this is straight up. The community was a life changer for me. So the cybersecurity community absolutely changed the trajectory of where I was going, not only as a person, but my professional trajectory. And so I thank all of you. A lot of you in chat literally impacted me at a daily operational level and had an impact on me and my life. So thank you, cybersecurity community, for just being awesome. And for those haters out there, those jerks out there, go ahead and kick sand, because this is an inclusive community. All right, that's enough jibber jabber for me. Have a wonderful Sunday. And until next time.